Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. We have our NFL team preview today. Today it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and joining me today to break down this great team, the Steeler Nation, my man, Mr. Bobby Butler. He was a two-time All-American at Florida State University, and he played 12 years in the National Football League at a high level. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it as we break down the team from the AFC North, the legend, the history, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, as I always say, and I call him Brother Butler, because I don't call him Bobby Butler, I call him Brother Butler. There's a reason for that, because that means legend and respect. Tell us about the Pittsburgh Steelers today, my man.
Well, you know, the Steelers is one of those organizations, Vincent, that they're not going away, right? They have strong traditions, a blue-collar community, and they play football. They've had, since 1969, they've only had 3 head coaches. Now, that speaks volume. We know that Mike Tomlin is the head coach now. But in 1969, we had Chuck Noll as a head coach. He won 4 Super Bowls. Then we had Bill Cowher to take over for another 13, 14 years. He won a Super Bowl. And Mike Tomlin has even won a Super Bowl in his era. But year in and year out, you can count on the Steelers being a very physical, blue-collar football team. That's one of the things they do. And I always talk about this, Vincent, and sometimes I know this go over people's head. But to have success in football, and you want to be a winner year in and year out, you got to do 2 things. You got to build your offensive line. You got to build your defensive front. You do those 2 things, you're gonna be special. And they've always been able to do that. Now, of course, last year they had a bad year in not being, having a 500 season. But, Ben Roethlisberger got injured, played only but 1 game last year. When he went out, everything went south, right? Everything went south. But they put their chin straps on and pulled their pants up, and they ended up with an 8-8 season after starting out in a horrible way. But it was all led up front on both sides of the ball. So I believe, even though Big Ben the last 2 years previously to last year, it's like he started to slide a little bit. But I still believe that Ben has got a lot left, and I believe Ben will lead this team back to prominence this season. Their running back room a few years ago, are we going to sign Le'Veon Bell? Well, we're going to sign him with Le'Veon Bell. Is he coming back? Whatever. I always tell y'all this, people. Running backs and wide receivers are a dime a dozen. I'm not saying Le'Veon Bell was not a star. He was a star and is a star today. But you can get a lot of people to run the football if you can block up front. You can get a quarterback to pass the ball if you can protect them, right? And so they're good there. And so James Conner came in and did an excellent job in 2018. And even though last year he slipped back just a little bit, but he had some help last year. Not only was he running the ball, Benny Snell did a good job running the ball. This year, they got a home run threat out of the University of Maryland, Mr. Anthony McFarland, who ran the 4.44 at the NFL Combine. He can take it the distance. He going to be able to strike from anywhere. So they're going to have a 3-headed monster in the backfield. They're going to be fine there. Their wide receiver room, all their receiving core, the wide receivers and their tight ends, had an off year last year. And the reason being had nothing to do with them. It was Ben Roethlisberger not being in the lineup. And so they kind of took a hit there. I look for, in the wide receiver room, I look for Juju Smith to step up like he did a couple years ago. I look for James Washington, Deontay Johnson, right? But they just drafted this young man, Chase Claypool, in the 2nd round, all right? And he's a big guy. He's 6'4", he's 227 pounds, and he ran the 4.44 at the NFL Combine. Listen, they got weapons. So they're going to be fine. All right? So remember, I talked about building your team up front. The offensive line, they got a good offensive line, right? They put it together last year and played extremely well, right? They don't have but one superstar in that group, but they got great chemistry. I'm talking, they got great chemistry in the offensive line. Their two tackles are dogs, Vincent. They are dogs, right? Alejandro Villanueva is one, and Matt Failer. Those guys are great tackles. And then you got Marquise Pouncey at center. See, the center job, the center position is the quarterback of the offensive line. They got a great leader and an all-star, a Pro Bowler, all-pro guy playing center, Marquise Pouncey. And so he's the ultimate pro. And so with all of them together, they don't have a weakness in their offensive line. So look for them to be good this year on offense. From a defensive standpoint, y'all know, just like the doggone Baltimore Ravens, right? The Pittsburgh Steelers defense, every year they strong. Now, here's the thing about their D-line. Well, let me say it this way. They got two of the best D linemen in the league. Now, we talk a lot about the Bosa brothers, right? We talk a lot about them. But there's another Watt brother named T.J. Watt, who's playing in Pittsburgh, two-time Pro Bowler, first-team All-Pro, right? He's playing at a legitimate Defensive Player of the Year level. I want y'all to hear that. Listen at this now. He has the highest pass rushing grade of any rusher in the league. Last year, he had 81 total pressures. He had his stats was 91.7 pass rushing rating last year. You can't get any higher than that. And then you got on the other side, three-time Pro Bowler from the 770 from Peachtree Ridge High School by way of the Ohio State University, Cameron Hayward. I played against his dad, Craig Hayward. That's his son, right? Cameron is a monster. Hey, listen, he's only second in the league to one player, and that's Aaron Donald at his position. Now, that's saying a lot, Vincent. That's saying a lot. So you got Cameron Hayward and T.J. Watt on that team. You got Javon Hargrave. You got Bud Dupree. And Hargrave, departed in free agency. But, Bud Dupree and Tuitt is back. And then you got Chris Wormley at nose tackle. Hey, strong. And then at linebacker, they got them young bucks. They dated from what I call the 305, Florida State grad, by way of Michigan. This young man, Devin Bush, hey, I look for him in his second year to be an all-pro this year. He's going to step his game up. He's not just a thumper linebacker. He's an athletic linebacker. He's good enough to play safety, y'all. That's what they got. And then in the secondary, they got two Pro Bowlers in the secondary, and they got a young buck who's finding his way, and he's going to find his way because he comes from a football pedigree. All right? So in the secondary, we're talking about Steven Nelson, right? He's pretty good. All right? And then you got the other corner by way of the University of Florida. Go Gators. I'll never say that again, Vince. That's the last time I'll ever say that. Joe Hayden, who's a three-time Pro Bowler. They make a good tandem, right? They're young. Then you got Terrell Edmonds, right? Who's young. He's finding his way. Come from great football royalty pedigree. He's going to find his way, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, I know this kid personally. Played against his dad and know his dad, right? And then you got this young man right here, Minka Fitzpatrick, who's an all-pro safety, came from the Miami Dolphins. Roll Tide, Coach Jones, if you're somewhere listening, right? And so they got a pretty good secondary. Hey, y'all, the Pittsburgh Steelers is not going anywhere. Look for them to ramp up. That AFC North division is hot and heavy now, right? And so it's going to be interesting. But the Steelers, Vincent, will be back in the hunt in 2020.
You said a lot, sir. It's not too much I can't disagree with you today. You look at that Steelers team, you look at their organization, you look at the history, and there's just something about that place in Pittsburgh that's special. Mm-hmm. Going back to 1972 when they built that team first made the playoffs and had all them great players, Franco Harris, Terry Bradshaw. Shout outs to my man. He played briefly, Joe Street Gilliam out of Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah. John Starworth, Lynn Swan. Great players, great organization. And even when Pittsburgh take a step back, it's not all the way a step back. They might go 8-8 for 2 seasons in a row, and then all of a sudden they put together 3 good years. But I'm gonna say this about last season. I thought Mike Tomlin, from a coaching standpoint, was his best job because basically Pittsburgh had no offense. I think they was the only team offensively. They didn't even score over 30 points in the game. And I think they last 3 games of the season, they only scored like 2 touchdowns. It's all about Big Ben. I'm not going to call his last name. I'm going to call him Big Ben. If he's healthy, Pittsburgh is a legitimate Super Bowl team. And they're better offensively. Juju Smith will be a primary number 1 receiver. Last year, he didn't have Big Ben. No disrespect to Mason Rudolph and Devin Hodges, but they just didn't get the job done, man. And then James Conner took a step back. He had some injuries. He only had 460 yards to lead the team in rushing, but Big Ben wasn't there. And I think what the National Football League and what I saw, I always know Big Ben has never really talked in that top epsilon with a Tom Brady, a Patrick Mahomes. But when you look at it, I think last year with him not being there, we can say he's a top 5 quarterback. And he's everything to that Pittsburgh team from an offense and defensive standpoint because he makes so many things happen. He's got one of the better arms in the game when he's healthy. He can read defenses, and he's been playing a long time. And Pittsburgh's a better team offensively. Their offensive line is going to be better. They're going to be able to run the football. And so last season, with him not being there, Mike Tomlin had to scratch and really put things together. Now, I'm going to get to the defensive side of the ball with the Steelers. Man. I thought last year, watching them play defensively, he had 54 sacks, 38 turnovers. Man, that's a lot of production. You should know, BB, because you played on the defensive side of the ball. And when I looked at their defense, man, they made me reminisce of the 76 Steelers. They had 5 shutouts that year. They had your homeboy, J.T. Thomas from Macon, Georgia.
That's right.
Your boy, Mel Blount, Donnie Shell, Mike Wagner, Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, Joe Green, Dwight White, the young man from Arkansas, Pine Bluff, L.C. Greenwood.
Yes,
their defense was playing at that level. Then, if you want me to take a step higher, they almost was reminiscent of the 85 Bears. Otis Wilson.
That's right.
You feel me?
That's right.
William Perry. My man, Pitt Suey out of the University of Arkansas, Dan Hampton. My man, Alcorn State, Leslie Frazier.
Yes, sir.
Mike Richardson. Man, the Steelers playing defense at a high level. And it's all because, think about this, when they made the trade, I'm going to call him Mr. Fitzpatrick. A lot of people in Pittsburgh were upset. Oh, next year, we can lose all our games. We can get a top 5. Why are we trading for this man here? But Mr. Fitzpatrick took me back in time. And, man, he played at a high level. And I've never seen the safety position played at a high level like he did. Can I say, Prairie View, Kenny Houston? Can I say San Bernardino, California, Ronnie Lott? Can I say Kenny Easley? He was all wrapped up in one, and he was the best safety I seen played in 1 year. And I'm going to say, no disrespect to the U and the Ravens, man, he played better ball than Ed Reed in a given season, and Troy Polamalu. And then what he did, he elevated the Pittsburgh defense to a level that, man, every week, it seemed like they was taking a turnover back for a touchdown. And then, you know what happened? After game 1, before Mr. Fitzpatrick got there, you already had somebody in the middle. You already brought his name up. His dad played at Florida State, outstanding university where you went. Man, Devin Bush. I've seen a lot of linebackers coming in this game. And really, he was at Michigan. I know he was good, but I didn't know he was that good. And the day they traded up in last year's 2019 draft, to trade up 10 spots to take him 10 overall, I said in my mind, maybe that's a little bit too much to be giving up for this kid. Because he was really kind of undersized, about 5'10", 220.
Right.
But, man, watching him play last year and what he did to that Steelers defense, and that's why T.J. Watt and Bud Dupree had a great year, and Cameron Hayward, Devin Bush reminds me, and I know a lot of people are going to get upset, but a really young man that came out of Baylor University that had them eyes. He was Mike Singletary, man. A more athletic Mike Singletary. He was making plays all over the field, man. And then you talked about their secondary. Man, Joe Hayden, he had some problems, was injured over there in Cleveland, hadn't really played well since he'd been in Pittsburgh. Man, he looked like you back in the day, Bobby. He was gloving. But the man they brought over in free agency from Kansas City, and I'm so mad at you today, man, Mr. Steven Nelson, because you should have told the people out there on that show today he's from Warren Robins, Georgia.
That's right.
Well, Oregon State.
That's
and
right.
I know he was a good football player, but man, he played like one of the top 10 corners in the game. And then, of course, you know the Edmonds kid, Terrell. You've been knowing him since he was 8 years old, so you know he got pedigree. Man, the Steelers defense has got a chance to be really good this year and the years to come. And I'm going to say it like this, very simple. Big Ben is healthy, the Steelers are going to roll because when you look at their defense and they're getting the monster back, again, I'm upset at you, Bob, because you didn't mention Mr. Stephon Tuitt. You mentioned his name briefly, but he's from Monroe, Georgia. That's right up the road from Atlanta. By way of Notre Dame, when he's back in the lineup, I don't see no weakness in the Steelers defense. And that's what's been so great about the Steelers organization. You mentioned they've had 3 coaches, but think about it. Out of all those coaches, they've always had great defensive players. Under Chuck Noll, L.C. Greenwood, Joe Green, J.T. Thomas, Mel Blount, under Bill Coward, Greg Lloyd, oh my God, Kevin Green, Cornell Lake. Man, they had people, Levon Kirkland, and then look at Mike Tomlin, James Harrison, Lamar Woodley, James Farrer, Casey Hampton. For some reason, their organization gets it right in drafting players, man. And they playing at a high level. And, man, this is a Steelers team. Hey, they can be very serious. If Big Ben is healthy, this team can get to the Super Bowl because they're young, they got experience throughout the roster, and offensively, yes, they had a lot. They had some injuries last year, but the biggest guy is Big Ben. He means everything to their football team. And if he's back healthy, this is going to be a dangerous team. And the AFC North, by far, to me, is the toughest division in all of football right now. When you look at the star power and quality, man, you got to really be excited for this season to start. And with the Steelers Nation, all I can say is, man, is that this organization throughout the years, they seem to get it right, man. They seem to get it right. And like old school, like my man out of Buffalo, New York say, Rick James, it's always been super freak from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, 2000. The legend, Rick James. That's how I think of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Final word, man, about your Steelers.
Hey, man, it's always exciting when you see teams that's been playing at a high level, you know, reorganize and get back, right? And so what I look for, Vincent, is great football when I watch it. And so you think about that AFC North, the competition is going to be, it's a powerful division. And it's going to be on and popping. And so I can't wait. I'm excited to see what's going to happen in 2020.
If you like the video today, please come in and share it. We are 100 Yards Football, and as I always in my video, Mr. Butler, where you from? I know you gave kudos to Daniel, beautiful interview with Jesse Hester. Where you from, sir?
The 561.
561, and myself are from the 901, Memphis, Tennessee. The greatest place in America. That's right. I'm proud of where I'm from. Hey, you like the video? Please come in and share it. We are 100 Yards of Football and enjoy the day. Go, Steelers Nation.